one way or another.
Yes.
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Are you gonna join us at the big people table?
Yes, I am.
The grown up still.
I do like my fortress of solitude. Who's going to bring the meeting to order?
Well,
Happy to
Heather's
bring it to order.
Yeah.
just virtual.
Hi, Chief.
Hello. Hello. Call the meeting to order at 5:02. And I don't remember seeing any minutes. Were there minutes with what?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
They were in the email.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I sent
As notes on the
two
agenda.
since I sent out the
Oh,
agenda.
yes.
Sorry about that.
Remember. All right. So there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
second.
Thanks, Kathy. And those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. All right, that passes. Is there any public in attendance?
Oh,
Nope. All right.
public. Oh, sorry. Suzanne just pointed out, one thing that, I think you emailed this around.
Yeah,
We just wanted to make note of the fact that we got a letter from, a citizen or neighbor, Kendall Davis, about, some concerns and comments that they wanted to make about the comprehensive plan. I think everybody has a copy, but we did bring paper copies in case anybody wants one. You know, do we need to discuss that now or?
I don't know, we've never had public comment. I mean, I think as long as, I think we should discuss what the comment is.
Yep.
We don't maybe need to like make any decisions per se.
Right.
But we need to acknowledge it and.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Anybody
Doesn't even
have
open
paper
it.
copies?
Incidentally, right?
Got it?
Right,
Yes.
marked it up, but I forgot to bring it with me.
And Kendall Davis is not a complete stranger to the town. He serves as the official liaison, actually between the town and Acadia National Park.
That's cool.
Some overlap
Okay.
there.
And I think the gist of the comments were thinking more about commercial districts in Otter Creek, I believe. And what some of the issues and implications around the current zoning and commercial uses in that area are.
I just thought it was interesting, he has a Bar Harbor PO box,
Yep.
but it's probably more convenient for him than going to
Right.
Seal Harbor. Only,
Yeah.
because Seal Harbor is only open, for 20 minutes a day kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The bar could be closer to his house.
What it is
Definitely is, yeah.
Otter Creek, yeah.
I think Bar Harbor is probably the service area for Otter Creek for the most part.
Mhm.
Almost.
I really don't want to speak too much from the planning board perspective, but the planning board is always open to people trying to have a business. We just had someone downtown Seal Harbor, a psychiatrist, and we okayed her to have a business there.
But Seal Harbor has a commercial zone, right?
I assume
But Otter Creek doesn't.
Otter Creek has commercial stuff, restaurant and,
None of it is zoned commercial?
Nothing in Otter Creek is zoned commercial, is it? No,
There's
it's commercial of record.
there's no like Northeast Harbor commercial, but there's
yes.
in Mount Desert has mixed zoning even in its sort of residential districts. So there are commercial uses that are allowed. But I think that the general point is when we get to particularly the future land use discussion, it would be interesting to take a look at that and say, hey, how do we think about Otter Creek? And this was we did have some comments similar to this in our village planning meeting when we at Otter Creek too. So it's definitely worth the look.
When I lived in Bar Harbor on Route 3, I was allowed quite a wide amount of commercial usage on my property because I fronted Route 3. Think about the only thing I couldn't do is have a used car lot. So there are opportunities, but I guess there's not any so-called commercial zoning.
Up here, I moved it up here.
No, there's no
Village residential.
village commercial districts in Otter Creek, which would be like the areas of your town where you theoretically want like the densest concentration of commercial development. But even in village commercial, we'd have to really take a look at the allowed uses table. That's the most informative way to think about it. So when we think about a village commercial district, or even that most of that area is village residential 2 and village residential 1, like what are the things that are allowed in those districts? And like I said earlier, Mount Desert, it's not like just because you're in a residential district, the only thing you do is residential. It's like the scale or intensity of the type of commercial use that would be allowed in those areas. So it's kind of interesting to think about.
And especially since there are a lot of businesses along there.
Yep.
And have been, and so it just doesn't make sense to say it's completely non-commercial. It's only residential, so,
Even a store.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting to say, well, here's what's there. And does the zoning actually reflect the things that are there?
Right.
And that's sort of what the beginning part of that evaluation. And if those things are still there, does it make sense that they're allowed or not allowed? If indeed they're not allowed, or what's the scale of that? And some other things to think about there, like, this is a pretty short corridor, but doesn't mean you automatically want to have, commercial the whole corridor. You just have to think about it a little differently. And to build on that, is it really our job to figure that out 100% during this comp plan process, or is it our job to recommend that the town go through a more lengthy process to figure it out?
There you go.
So,
Right.
I think this person is raising the point that there's been a stretching of what counts as home occupation in this area.
Mm.
That great. Well, I think this is great. We'll keep this on hand. Certainly as we go through each of these topic areas, we will be thinking about implications for future land use. And when we actually start to dive into, does the future land use map need to change in some way? What are this, we can certainly go back and look at our economy policies as well.
Yep.
Keeping this in mind. And I know Vince, you had raised that in some discussions previously.
So all that said, I think that was the extent of the public comments that we've got so far.
Okay. Great, thank you. The reminder of the revised committee schedule,
Yes.
is that
Yes.
just,
I think hopefully everybody got a copy of that last time around. And we
right?
do have more than just one committee meeting a month. And I can't remember when our next one is.
These all on the town website now, though.
Yep. Yeah, and I think everybody received the email with the new dates.
Yes, one of you sent me a correction or a missing, Katrina, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was in June.
yeah, so
Yeah.
but hopefully we won't need it.
Yeah, right.
Right, I think we sort of overbuilt the schedule for the just in case.
Yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, moving
sorry.
to housing policy review.
So we made edits to the housing policy section and circulated that based on the comments that we had, the good, thoughtful discussions that we had last time. I think today we want to spend a little bit of time just making sure we captured everything. And then as we're doing that, just to make sure we have the who and the when piece. And at some point, we have this column called tag, and I think that's where we might go through and say, this is other areas of the comp plan where this fits in.
Yeah, the tag means in my mind, it's sort of like, when you create like a relational database, or just like how are these all interrelated to each other? Eventually, all the policies will end up in a big spreadsheet, and we'll be kind of looking at them all together. And so many of them are interrelated. sometimes recreation and transportation, or economy and recreation, or housing and economy, for example. It's great to see them under their sort of respective umbrella headings, but it's also important to look at how they're related.
So this is a clean copy, and we haven't made any edits to it really. Although Suzanne and I did start going through and made a few, the Who's comments, but perhaps we can just kind of take the next half hour or so and just run through it.
I'm going to bring it up on the screen also for our listeners. Just bear with me.
And as you're doing that, Suzanne, I'm just going to keep talking.
Yeah,
But
please.
as you, everybody will call, like we asked the big question, which is like, what is the problem that we're trying to solve for housing? And we came up with the one goal, which is housing for all incomes and life stages. Does that still resonate with everybody?
Sure.
Yep.
And then I think we narrowed it down to kind of four basically objectives to try to get to that goal. The first one was increasing the number of year-round homes to support a year-round economy.
And I wondered on that about not just economy, but community.
Yep.
Economy and community. No?
Yeah. Does anybody want the written version of that? Of this, by the way. Okay. Everyone good with that
Yep.
addition?
Community.
Yep. Year-round economy or year-round community or both?
Mhm.
I'm going to keep reading through and please do for these ones, please do what Kathy did and just stop.
Insert yourself.
Just in the effort of just getting through it, I'm just going to keep going until you tell me to stop. Does that work for everybody?
Perfect.
Great.
Yep.
All right. So decrease the conversion of year-round homes to short-term rentals. Good. Maintain the scale of existing year-round neighborhoods to ensure housing opportunities for year-round community members. Okay. And last one is increase the supply of rentals attainable to year-round community at various income levels. Are we missing anything?
In terms of an objective.
Yes. So, yeah.
I was a little slow there, sorry.
If we think about, when we think about the data and we think about everything, does this seem like it really captures the objectives that we want to try to get to? That's really the bigger question.
That, and do you feel like in order to achieve, these are the objectives you need to pursue to achieve that goal, which is so like wonderful and aspiration, right? And that's a good thing, right?
And there might be a simpler way to say number 3 that's like a little more accessible.
Right.
Not sure what it is, but yeah, I feel like it's a little bit like convoluted, like I said.
Right, or maybe a little like if I was less familiar with the conversations we were having, I might, because I remember when we talked about it, there were some specific instances that people mentioned that this is speaking to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like the changeover of Sylvan Way, instead of community changing over significantly.
Because those parcels are so small and just maintaining, that's what you mean by maintaining the scale of those small parcels.
Yes.
There and Upper and Lower Dunbar Road would be the same.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I guess the implication is that the smaller parcels means theoretically smaller homes, which means theoretically less expensive homes.
One would hope.
Yeah.
Right. And I think maybe scale.
Homes for, like young families or people who are starting out. I don't know. Sorry, go on.
Also, scale depends on the neighborhood you're talking about.
Yes.
And so we're not making a judgment call on any particular neighborhood at this phase, but the genesis of this was that conversation. I think we're
What about something like maintain or preserve the scale of existing year-round neighborhoods to ensure housing for year-round residents? Is that too concise?
Say it again.
Well,
Preserve.
yeah, maintain or preserve. I sort of like preserve the scale of year-round housing neighborhoods to ensure housing for year-round residents.
The problem with that, that's a great idea, but Sylvan City has already started to switch.
Can we date this
Okay.
back about 10 years? Or back to,
That's the problem already, is that the summer families have already moved into,
Already starting to buy the neighboring properties and tear down, yeah.
and
Okay.
part of our discussion last time was finding the right balance.
Mhm.
And
Right.
we're moving over in one direction now, and I'm not sure. So you're right, maintain we're in a bad place to maintain. How do we reverse? Or do we need to include the word balance in here somehow?
What are we trying to balance?
The seasonal to year-round population.
Is it something just about like, it's something about the lot sizes, right? Is that what we need to be focusing on?
No, I was not thinking of lot sizes.
That's what I was taking away from it. So, it's good to be clarifying this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm thinking balance in population.
no, I know that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
is it called redlining?
Yeah.
Is it?
So I think we're kind of talking about two different things.
About history, what?
We're talking about two different things. One is trying to find goals and strategies to make sure that we have a year-round population, which really is covered by some of the other goals. And then the thing that we are also talking about is it's really the scale of neighborhoods. And so what Katrina was talking about, if I'm just reflecting, is when you go to Sylvan City, for example, it's basically, forget about who lives there. It's composed of small lots and small homes. And what's happening over time is it's becoming bigger homes and bigger lots. And so when we think about combined like neighborhood scale, the challenge that we're having is trying to figure out which words to use to put in a comp plan that aren't things like what's currently like if I'm remembering the conversation right, when there's standards in the ordinance that are very subjective.
Mhm.
And so we're just trying to like, how do we articulate the thing that you're talking about?
Right.
That's
How do we not make Mansion a street?
yeah. Well, how do we articulate that in a comp plan objective?
I still think you're on it because this then heads over towards planning board, which is provisions against combining of lots.
Correct.
You have to have restrictive covenants in all of the deeds or something. There's not a good way to
Well,
do that.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good perspective, and that might be the restrictive covenants might be dimensional in some ways, but they might also be who can own the lot if you have year-round covenants on your properties or developments. And then the town's responsibility is really to say, in this area, we know that this is a small lot neighborhood, and we are going to create dimensional standards that require that to stay the way it is, basically.
Yeah, you can't combine lots.
So one of
Right.
the first strategy under, I know we're just looking at objectives on the screen, I'll scroll down real quick. The first strategy under that objective is establish where appropriate neighborhood districts with maximum lot sizes and other dimensional standards to maintain the scale of existing neighborhoods and support year-round living. And so I guess I have a couple questions. Does that feel like it gets at what we're trying to describe? And do we want to say the scale of historically year-round neighborhoods or something? I don't know.
I don't think you
Maybe
can say
that's
that.
too-
You think you
that's
can
not-
say that?
It's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for this particular strategy, I would like to objective. I would like to think about it as not necessarily a year-round versus seasonal use of the lot, but really it's the dimensional, it's the scale of the neighborhood, the dimensional feeling of the neighborhood that you're
Got
really
it.
getting at.
Well, can I say then for three, I did not take scale to be equivalent to lot size.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that, maybe I'm the only one. But maybe maintain the, lot sizes of existing year-round neighborhoods instead of scale.
So when you think about scale, what are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about, well, because the next thing was neighborhoods. I'm thinking of neighborhood scale, like Silver City I'm thinking that scale, not the individual lot sizes within it.
So when you think about a neighborhood in terms of scale, what kinds of things are you thinking about?
Are you talking about the neighborhood as a geography? Like this neighborhood is called, I don't know what you call it, like Dunbar.
Upper Dunbar.
Or like
Yeah.
Dunbar's. That's a neighborhood.
Mhm.
Are you talking about the scale of the neighborhood or the scale of the?
It's,
Parcels.
when I first read number 3,
Uh-huh.
it did not speak to me that we're talking about lot sizes.
Got it.
Right, that's all.
You're thinking about the size of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you're right that the specifics under objective 3 do relate to lot size. I mean, it's more clear when you get into the strategy.
Is it like, to reframe it, it's like ensure housing opportunities for year-round community members by maintaining the scale of lots in existing year-round neighborhoods?
Yes.
Something like that.
I just would like to ask the question, like, when there are other ways to think about scale. So we don't have to just say lot size. So it's what I'm asking the question about is when you think about scale of a neighborhood, what kinds of things are you thinking about? You know what I mean? It's like you could say the scale of the neighborhood parentheses, i.e. You know, we could have a list of things that we're kind of thinking about for scale, but lot size might be one thing, but it could also be like I think what Suzanne was saying was scale, like the boundaries of the Dunbar roads are from X to Y. That might be one thing.
I think that was just a point of confusion for Kathy.
But I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out what is it that she
Yeah.
thinks about when she thinks about scale, because
Okay.
it's actually kind of a
Well, not to put words in Katrina's mouth, but when she brought this up at the last meeting, some of what I was thinking about with respect to scale is the character of the neighborhood. And I mean, that's not really quantifiable, but that's one component of scale. I mean, there's always the density and size too, but I sort of felt like the conversation was around trying to sort of preserve that character, not necessarily the characters of the neighborhood, but just, like what Sylvan City has been.
yeah.
And
That's what I'm trying to get at. How do we
And I
otherwise describe character?
Quantify that,
think of scale as, let's take another neighborhood, Rock End Road, that used to be very year-round dominant and has transformed significantly into more seasonal use.
Mhm.
The houses have been enlarged, upscaled, et cetera. I think that's on a different scale than what we've seen in Sylvan City until the, $1 million house went in there. So that's what I'm thinking of as scale, is not necessarily the dimensions of the lot size,
But like the
feeling of it.
But is there a physical component to it, or?
It's
the
hard
size
to
of the
have-
lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to like lead into something that's very definable and legally defensible.
I think this is why I was stopped by that, like that's
Yeah.
the question.
I guess the way I'm thinking about it, and again, it could be completely wrong and doesn't need to influence any of this, but that's why I was trying to break it into two different things. Like there are objectives for year-round community, which brings a certain scale to a neighborhood. And then there are physical factors which bring certain scale to a neighborhood, and they're not mutually exclusive. They work together. So can we have two goals? One that deals with the first goal deals with the year-round side.
So the objective.
The first objective deals with the year-round community and other objectives also. And then there's another objective that deals with like the physical characters of a neighborhood. I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
I might be making too much of it, just caught up on one word. It's not worth having an hour conversation.
I really use that word distinction.
If it's not clear enough for you, it's, for other people too. Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's the struggle, sort of like getting back to the regulatory side of it. What does character mean?
Mhm.
Why it's so problematic in an ordinance? But our opportunity is to say, this is what we're kind of thinking about.
I think that might lead to the aesthetics committee being formed. Like if we start saying character of a neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, Vince, I think you're right. And that's why we had character last time and we took it out and we were like, let's not use that word.
Yeah.
Just fair.
Yeah.
Change. So, and again, I may be overthinking it a lot. which is always a possibility for me, so.
So the first one's about the number of year-round homes just across the board. Second one's very specifically about trying to slow or decrease the conversion of homes to lodging. And then the third one is about it's something about a pattern. You know what I mean?
I guess when I first brought this up, I was thinking, how about, since it is about lot sizes, how about maintaining the existing lot sizes of year-round neighborhoods to ensure?
Housing opportunities, something.
And aren't we helping to ensure? We're not necessarily, we can't ensure it.
Right.
You can't require it.
Right. We're helping.
No.
I don't think so.
Those are called ghettos.
No.
Well, in the interest of time,
Yeah.
maybe Suzanne and I could take all of this conversation and then we can go sit back and try to wordsmith this a little bit more,
Yeah.
just to add some detail and whether or not it makes, we may come up with some other tweaks that we can get back to. But I really do think it was a good, that's why keep asking you the question, because I think it's important to, I hope we can,
Words will matter.
words
Yeah.
matter. And if, we're here talking about it tonight and then 5 years from now, somebody's going to be like, what do you mean by scale?
It has to
So-
be really clear.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm glad you asked that.
And to me, it meant one thing, and obviously and I think it's good to think it through.
It's interesting because I live off a street where there's a home that's relatively new in regards to the street that is totally out of scale,
Mhm.
physically out of scale with the rest of the street.
Yep.
Because it has larger amount, it's covering the lot more, or because the architecture is different?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they have maximized every square inch of that parcel. And then some.
Mm.
And it stands out.
So it's not just the size of the lot, it's like the lot coverage and the.
Lot coverage.
Yeah. And also to balance out, Vince's point, which is like, we're not necessarily advocating for like a design review committee to make sure everybody.
It's a lovely home.
Yeah.
It's just in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
It's in a spot that's out of character with the other homes that were there.
Mhm.
No.
You think?
Yeah, everything changes.
I mean, I just think we're gonna see more and more maxed out lots.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which gets
This
to
is
what I think.
happening.
Well, we
right
will expect one right
in
next door to
so
me,
many
for example.
places.
We've
Right.
got
Yes.
lot coverage so low, so we can have, more units
Right.
on a lot.
If you look at
You'd
it
be
from.
cutting off your nose to spite your face,
Right.
which is why you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we want to go through let's maybe.
Yep.
Let's do these strategies under each one, or we can look at them quickly, and if anyone has additional concerns, certainly say the word. So objective 1, increase the number of year-round homes to support a year-round economy and community. First one is amend and periodically update land use regulations. Second one, create a committee or working group to engage with neighboring towns and the state to allow different property taxes based on year-round versus seasonal.
Suzanne, do you want to
Oh.
fill out who and the when as we're doing
Sure.
this? Or
Yeah.
were you planning on going back to do that?
No, let's do that now.
So I think
Thank
we
you.
just added planning board and ongoing was already the strategy. So
Yeah.
good.
And I don't know about you all, if you want us to go ahead and think about these tags, but I feel like all of the housing strategies should be also cross-referenced to economy, that they support economy goals. And the second one, create a committee or working group to engage with neighboring towns. We have select board. And this is where we would have to decide, I put up here, sorry to scroll around a bunch. Timeframes are ongoing, which means it's either something that's already happening and the town will continue to do it, or short term. This is the typical convention that we use, but it doesn't have to be this way. short term 1 to 3 years, medium term 3 to 5, long term 5+. It's a 10-year plan theoretically. You probably will not rewrite it again in 10 years because you'll all be like, I'm tired of comprehensive planning.
Because it's so good, you just readopt it
Yeah.
again.
But so are those timeframes okay with you? And then keep those in mind as we go through. So for this one, create a committee or working group to engage with neighboring towns to explore sort of property or tax related ways to increase the number of year-round homes.
You have a couple of question marks in that second one.
Yeah.
Are we gonna keep question marks in there?
Do you think this is more of a short term, a medium term, so 1 to 3 years? To me, short term is like kind of immediate. Like you adopt the plan, the town sits down and says, okay, like this is what's on our work plan coming up. And so
We have to put a timeline on them?
Yes, we do. Actually, we tried that once before and they kicked it back.
Okay.
We'll definitely put ongoing on that.
Yep.
That's a windmill we'll be tilting at forever and ever.
Great.
And then it should be done through MMA. That's
Okay.
the group that we literally pay to do that lobbying for us. So
Okay.
So the who would be select board and MMA?
select board directing to MMA.
Okay.
Is there such a thing as like a short-term and ongoing?
Yes.
Because I guess if we say ongoing, it feels like it may be one of those things that isn't as prioritized because there are so many ongoing. I don't feel strongly about this, but just thinking about what our system is.
Yeah, if you put short term there, or like some communities will even have another category, which is like immediate, right? And those are the things that are like big one. But that communicates it like it's something you haven't done yet. You need to do it and then keep doing it. Does that make sense? So it's totally fine
Yeah.
to write it like that.
I guess that's what I would suggest.
Great. Ensure that public infrastructure is sufficient in growth areas to support additional housing. Right now it says select board ongoing.
Could we add
That might be a
Public Works to that too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Evaluate and where appropriate require workforce housing components and larger residential developments to inclusionary requirements. This is one we sort of hemmed and hawed over, maybe didn't totally decide on last time, but we kept it in there. And I think that the idea is that we don't typically see housing development at the scale where this type of approach is usually used and found beneficial. So even though, I mean, you can still have it in there.
My vote is to scrap it. I think it's too ambiguous where it says where appropriate. Well, who decides that? And then to what level is it required?
Other thoughts?
Well, it'd be planning board and it would be written into the code based off of the size of the development, right? So those would be pretty, we're going generic and asking them to create something specific. But I also agree, there aren't vast tracts of the town of Mount Desert left undeveloped that are suddenly gonna have some monster development.
Vince, would you feel better if we got rid of the word evaluate and where appropriate, if those words were eliminated and just require workforce housing components?
That wouldn't be appropriate if they didn't have enough units available, right? You're gonna make them do 50% of their development, or what if they're only building 3 houses? I don't know. It seemed like now you have larger in there as another subjective term.
You'd have to quantify that.
Yeah, and it could be something where it's more of an instruction to the planning board to say, evaluate tools or something. It's something about like trying to do a little bit more thinking about this type of approach. And so I don't know like Noel, in your experience with other communities, if they have like a PUD zone, or like where I used to work in Montgomery County, Maryland, developments came in through standard method or what was called optional method. And so if you were doing an optional method development, it meant like you could get density bonuses, but then in exchange you had to like, I mean, some of these were humongous developments. So it was like build a new elementary school or a park, or provide, 15% of the units are at, 80% AMI, or, the list goes on, other public amenities. So that's a very like, normal tool in places where we have development happening at a higher
Volume.
level. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
There are some sizable tracts of land, off of Pretty Marsh Road or elsewhere in Soamesville that people tried to sell our organization, like, we're going to focus on where we are right now. But we see people coming in, builders, developers coming in. It's like they're interested in doing stuff. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities that somebody might come in and say, yeah, downtown's too busy. Let's start building bigger houses in these, currently wooded areas. It's a possibility. And if we never use it, then we never use it. But never say never.
It could be something like, evaluate tools, like inclusionary requirements, development incentives, or contributions to a housing fund, or something like that.
Yeah, I would say that's what I was just writing down. Would it be, we're actually, in this case, we're kind of building it backwards from the who part. And so in this case, we want to basically direct the planning board to develop ordinance tools to do the such as inclusionary zoning or inclusionary requirements, development incentives, or contributions to a housing fund for the purpose of, attainable housing. Something like that. Is that sort of like reframe it a little bit based on who we're directing it to? We want them, we don't want to be so ambiguous here. What we like the idea is having tools available like that. We want the planning board to develop those tools with more specificity than we're going to be able to do here.
Yeah, and something that really
Appeal to it.
makes sense for
Yes.
this area.
She could be very specific.
Yeah, because we will end up debating endlessly what is a large subdivision?
Yeah.
That's what we want them to do.
I came from that land,
Really? Montgomery County, Maryland?
7,000.
Good stuff.
That's a big one.
So maybe Suzanne, we can take a whack. Can we take a whack at revising that? Is that all right with
Yes.
everybody? And then you guys can, see whether or not you like it any better or less, and we just at a certain point we can scrap it or not.
I don't think it's too bad, because if somebody does come in with something like that, and it's very possible that, we need to have some sort of control to have a say in what they do.
Right. So what I'm hearing is the concept of having those tools available is interesting to the committee, more or less, but we need to add some less ambiguity in the language and more directive toward the planning board to actually develop the tools.
Does the planning board currently have discretion to deny a subdivision?
If they follow the rules, put out, then we can't really deny. And that's when lawsuits come about. If you follow the law, which most people do, the way things are written,
Yeah.
sometimes the planning board's hands are tied to what they can and cannot do. As people say, don't tell me what I can or can't do with my property. It's a tough one. And like you said, we need to, I don't know if the planning board or the state could give some guidance on that. But we only have so many tools in our box to use.
Sure.
Yep. There's a lot of models out there for the things that we're talking about.
Yep.
Great. Timeframe? timeframe?
Yeah, when?
So it's better.
Short-term, comma, ongoing?
Mhm.
Yes.
Could see that being continuing.
Yeah.
Great.
So can I also just add, as we're going through this, if everybody's like, I think let's not think too much about the whens. If we have a bunch of short terms and medium terms or long terms, it's okay. We're gonna like go back through this at the end and be like, oh my God, if everything is short term, how are we gonna do any of it? And then we're gonna
Yeah.
have to make hard choices.
Mhm.
But we don't need to get bogged
For
down.
the future.
And we just need like a first cut at it.
Yeah. Okay, support the efforts of local and regional housing coalitions in addressing affordable and workforce housing needs. So I did add in the tag, this is a state required strategy. So I feel like, I don't want to speak for you all, but this seems like an ongoing to me.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I wondered about the next one because they seem quite similar.
Yeah.
Are we affordable or attainable, or is it the same?
You see them used interchangeably.
Do we have some new names for some of that stuff, or is that their new names? I know that's been,
In here is required by the state though, right? Like pretty much everything we've got in these four is, we're saying it the way the state needs us to say it.
Yeah, I wish I had like a more precise answer for you. Sometimes they are really insistent about things being verbatim, and then sometimes like communities are already writing strategies that essentially say the same thing and they check it off as having met that. What we tend to do is just put it in there verbatim unless you all feel like there's some way to say it that's achieving the same action, but it's more tailored to your community. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But if that's the word they like, if affordable
Yeah.
is the word that works for them, then
I think so.
Right. I think also what you're getting at, Alan, is are we using attainable? Are we using affordable? Are we using workforce? And essentially they can mean all the same thing.
But did it, I feel like the committee had leaned towards attainable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by that we mean not just cost attainability, but other factors, right? Or are we talking about cost? We just are using a friendlier, like a
That's offensive.
less offensive word. So like maybe we're using the word attainable and try to just like sub it in wherever we have said
Yeah.
affordable, unless it feels like this is just gonna be an annoying administrative thing to navigate going back.
I can also ask them next.
So it could be
Yeah.
attainable everywhere besides here.
Easily do a find and
Maybe the
replace.
state would come around.
Yeah.
Right, maybe they will learn something.
Any sense of the time frame there? So
it's ongoing
Yeah.
and it's long-term and it's short. I mean, it's forever and always.
okay.
Kathy, were you suggesting that these are similar and should be combined?
Yes.
But do they need to be discrete?
I think they
But
do because
it's-
one of them is telling, because remember, they're telling all the towns this. They're like, if you don't have a committee, make a committee. If you aren't currently working with your hopefully existing regional housing coalition, please do that. So they are kind of separate things. You could have a committee that isn't working with the regional coalition. Or you could have a town that's like talking to the Island Housing Trust or whomever, but then you don't have a committee working on housing.
Got it.
The next one is they do really like it to be verbatim, seek to achieve a level of at least 10% of new residential development built or placed during the next decade be affordable. We can say maybe attainable is the word here.
And what's the definition of affordable?
Yeah, and to whom?
Right.
It is a different,
But
it depends on
any
the program
goal
you're
is the
talking
same.
about.
Yeah,
Problem.
they're both kind of subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 10% also seems so low. If we're trying to achieve balance.
Mhm.
And
we'll base everything on Crooksey Drive from now on.
The next one, designate a location in growth areas where mobile home parks are allowed pursuant to this state law.
I do wonder if they're talking about, I mean, because they always use the word affordable and they want to make sure 10%, are they talking about affordable for low income? Are they being very specific about a certain population income level?
Yeah.
Would the state have a number?
Can we find that?
Yeah, I can find that out.
Because even what we're trying to do isn't going to be affordable to everybody.
It's very relative,
Yeah.
right? And so is it relative to like, I want to say it has to do with the median household income in the area, but,
It's all relative to that, but are they talking about 50 to 80% of median income or 120% of median income? So it's not specific enough to say we're going to meet that level of 10%.
right. And, I could imagine them saying, well, if your community feels like you want to define that further for what that means to you, then that makes sense. And they would probably support that.
Yeah, but the reality is there's some multiple levels of what we're talking about, and that's why it does get confusing. So if you're talking about Maine housing programs, then that's like the level of affordability is based on a lower percentage of the area median income. And we're also talking about like, where's that middle ground? Yeah.
Will
So
there be
we
a
can look into that.
glossary of key terms?
That's a great idea.
Because we have that like little cheat sheet on the time
Yeah,
frames. Like,
let's
that's
do that.
helpful. Like if you
That's a great idea. Like that. Thank you for that suggestion. Is there a location where mobile home parks are currently allowed within zones considered part of the growth area?
Yes, I think they are already allowed.
That's ongoing.
I think that was just been rewritten.
And
Yes,
at
it
state,
was.
Yep.
yeah. Great. Okay,
We can't not allow them. Right. And then
the next one, decrease the conversion of year-round homes to short-term rentals. The first strategy, monitor and evaluate the impacts of short-term rentals on availability. E.g. rental registration programs and periodic policy review. So this is one where we were like, how do we get at the need for the data? But they're also recognize that there's been discomfort, resistance.
Your resistance.
Yeah, to having even just a registration, not even considering, a capping or whatever limitation. So do people feel comfortable? Part of me, I will encourage people to be, oh dear. The ad block thing popped up on my end at least. I encourage you to be like, it's okay to, put stuff out there and see what reactions you receive, right? So if you're feeling nervous about suggesting things, that's okay, right? This isn't it obviously has to go out and be reviewed by the public and we get feedback and so on. But does this level of detail or whatever assertiveness feel comfortable to people?
I think but it isn't, but I think in a way we have to, otherwise we're not going to get any information.
I think we could avoid a lot of conflict if we just said voluntary in there, a voluntary rental survey program.
As another, for example, as another EG, is that what you're saying? Because that, to me, that's a different thing.
I just think that the rental registration program phrase is going to throw up red flags to anybody that reads this and remembers what vote we went through last year.
Hopefully we can try doing that again and hopefully sometime pass it.
So I think that's an important comment, right? Because it could be that there are people who their minds have changed, or, theoretically, if we're like, here's the data that we have in our inventories, and here's the key findings, and here's what we think we should do about it. And, if you're kind of telling that story, then suggesting this doesn't seem like wildly out of left field.
Yeah, I might be insensitive or like not as tuned into the politics, but I feel like this is very reasonable, and it's not stating how the monitoring or evaluation will look, so that could make somebody uneasy, or it could be a positive.
Alex, I'm reading your face.
This is a big one, right?
No, it's exciting.
Because essentially the question here to everyone, and this is really think hard about the answer to this one, is does the comprehensive plan direct the town to take another stab at the short-term rental ordinance? Is really what we're kind of getting at here.
Absolutely.
I think there's a majority here, although not a unanimous piece on it. And I'm going to stay back because I do expect sooner or later we're going to be tasked with doing it again. It's just a matter of when. But it's a big question. This is you want to hit on the one spot in all of this. I think this is it right here.
Yep, I agree. When you get to the town meeting part of this, there'll be a few strategies that are going to cause some conversation and have implications for the whole plan. So but I think it's an important discussion.
I'm wondering, because I think even if you took out the EG rental registration programs, there could still be a strategy of monitoring and evaluating the impacts of this conversion. You could look back at the home sales for the last 5 years and say, who owns it now and how's it being used? And that does not necessarily require a rental registration program, but you would still get enough data to say, this is what's happening.
You get some data.
You get some data. And it could tell a story that we should all pay attention to. But we could pull out rental registration program as a whole separate strategy.
So some communities who are feeling, super feisty, the committee might say like the strategy is like require this, or, that's the like one end of the spectrum in terms of being like really direct and aggressive. Yeah.
And I'm just worried because I think that the monitoring and evaluating is critical. And if it was going to be shut down because of the registration program, I wouldn't want that to happen. Let's pull that out of there, but let's do the monitoring.
So what you're saying is we're not telling you specific or even giving you an example of how to monitor and evaluate. We just want you to do that.
Monitor and evaluate.
Monitor and evaluate could be one thing, or it could be something totally different. Monitoring. Yep.
Collect data.
So you feel, go
ahead. Well, I was going to say, kind of to what Alex had said, we're not directing the town to do this, but to bring this forth again, but we're saying monitor and evaluate so that once they do that, they might come to the conclusion that we do need to go back to the townspeople with some sort of program for short-term rentals.
The way I would read that, Heather, is that we're directing to the town, whatever time frame that everybody decides to actually monitor and evaluate, but we're not telling you how to do that. So it could be that the only way we can monitor and evaluate is to do a registration program.
Okay.
Required. It could be going to take a softer touch, and Alex is going to direct somebody on town staff to sweep the internet and figure out how many short-term rentals there are. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. And
I think you said it more concisely and than what I was thinking or saying. Yeah.
So what I hear Kathy say is, and I don't know I just want to gauge how other people feel about it, is that taking that term registration out of the language is better than risking this particular directive to torpedo that whole section of the ordinance. Is that just a paraphrase?
Do you feel like the way it's written now would receive enough backlash?
Yes.
Or invite a conversation? I'm not trying to be naive about another healthy conversation about what it means. So I'm trying to imagine if there's individuals or groups of individuals that would be really triggered by this, would they be able to join like a conversation we're having right now? So it's like, okay, if the registration is like a bridge too far, how do we do that monitoring and data collection in a way that people can live with? Because at the end of the day, like that's the problem. One of the main problems you're trying to figure out or solve, right? And that, just look at like Bar Harbor is essentially like paying huge sums of money to subscription programs to like, like surveillance level technology on short-term rentals, like, don't quote me on that, but like, looking at like, scraping, right, scraping the internet, like, and doing a ton of sort of, enforcement, all that kind of thing, which is like, it's an unfortunate situation to be in, but they're creating these policies and then people are responding to them in a certain way, and then they have to respond to how they're responding and so on. And this is where it's led them. So does that make sense? The question I'm asking, like, does leaving it like this like invite a good
I
conversation?
don't think it would be a healthy conversation.
No, I don't either. I think it would be ugly.
Yeah.
And we've had it twice already.
Yeah, and then people are kind of violent about it. It's scary.
Yeah.
I don't mind the ugly because I think we have to do something about it.
But
It's a serious problem.
it is, but I also think that we can achieve what we need to without having the ugliness of a formal registration program by scraping data. Looking at it, let's look at it just a time period. But I am probably naive in terms of how much effort or how much cost that would be.
Yeah.
This is one of those.
It's really hard.
Let's do this.
And like, I don't live here. I mean, I obviously work on this topic and talk about it, but I just feel like that people are so, it's been a major battle. And there's some
There's a lot of
scars.
passion about this because you're taking away, it's felt perhaps by some that you're taking away their livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
The way they're maintaining this home that they want to keep for their kids is so that they,
Sure. I
so how
totally
can you
get
do
it.
it?
Yeah.
And yep, it turns into a business for a period of time. But at the end of the day, the homestead is maintained
Yeah.
and retained.
Yeah. I get it. I guess what I'm saying is like, how do we keep talking about it in a way where people aren't saying it was violent or scary or, like, how do you keep having like a productive conversation about it? So, do you feel like taking out the EG parentheses here is the answer? And do you feel like that there needs to be another additional strategy? Or is that too?
Well, I think that the way to have the healthier conversation is to get the facts and present the facts.
Mhm.
That can't be disputed, because then it's a clearer issue. Here's what happened. This number of houses used to be owned by year-round people. Now those houses are, seasonal use and or short-term rental. This many houses have been taken off the market for the year-round community.
Mhm.
Those are facts.
What happens when the facts are like, 80% of the houses are short-term rentals? I guess it's sort of
What we're
like,
heading to.
So first,
Yeah.
just to
It's a
add
tough
to all
one,
this, it is a tough one, but I think there's just as in hindsight, and having been involved in the discussions in town, there's probably some opportunity to reboot the conversation in a more facilitative way. And that's something that is a strategy to talk about. But what I would reflect on is that you're already saying in your second objective under housing that you want to decrease the conversion of year-round homes to short-term rentals. So that's a pretty powerful statement.
Mhm.
And then secondly, you're saying the first thing, in order to do that, the first thing you need to do is monitor and evaluate the impacts of short-term rentals on available year-round homes through data collection, even if we take out that. Then thirdly, could we add a strategy underneath that one that says facilitate, I'm not going to do good with the words, but could we just add something like facilitate the healthy conversation of this issue in order to achieve, objective number 2, something we can wordsmith that, but something like,
another
we need to
strategy.
add what we need to do is have a strategy where we can have the healthy conversation about this topic, because it's not just about, your livelihood. It's also about your community. And like, how do we have to have a better conversation about that. And there's always going to be like some winners and losers in the perceived winners and losers in the conversation, but like a strategy, and it doesn't have to be a long-term or ongoing strategy. It could be like a short-term, whatever timeline. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe we need to add a strategy that is really the conversation. So it's directing the town to facilitate the conversation once we understand what the data is, something like that.
I think that if we just take out the parentheses from that first one and do the monitoring, and then you can have a separate fight over what the things are going to be. Yes, make it a separate strategy.
Right.
Whether it's explore the opportunities to set caps as Bar Harbor does, or starting off with a registration program, which is not setting caps.
Yeah. Like,
do the hard things separately.
yes. Maybe it's facilitate productive conversations about the tools needed to balance, blah, 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 something like that.
Could you just say monitor and evaluate the impact of the loss of year-round housing through data collection? Because not every house that's sold that's year-round goes short-term rental. It might go seasonal, which is a whole different kettle of fish, right? So what I think we're trying to say is this house has always been lived in with a husband and wife and 3 kids. And now they've sold, they've moved away, and the house has now been bought by the next family who's going to be here for Memorial Day to Columbus Day.
Mm-hmm.
They're only going to be here for that time period. That's not a short-term rental.
Right.
It's a seasonal use, which is different because it's not putting kids in the school department in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different.
Right.
It's not a hotel.
I bet the parents would disagree by the end of the summer.
Yeah, and both of those things have an effect on year-round community.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because I do think we're trying to capture both of those.
All right, so let's go back to this first one. So, Sheena, you're suggesting take out
Monitor and evaluate the impact of the loss of year-round housing through data collection.
How about the transition of year-round housing to either seasonal, or because then I think loss is subjective.
And I think you have to put seasonal in there so it doesn't
Seasonal
blow up everybody.
Exactly. And yeah, taking out the word short-term rental.
I thought you could just include both of them.
I thought you were going to add both of them. I was getting rid of short-term rental.
Yeah, exactly. But seasonal would capture, I mean, as long as we understand how these properties are being used, could we have a subcategory in there? Because both are happening.
Well, we talked about a definitions page, so seasonal housing.
I think in our housing inventory, we have that. So we did our talks with Brittany Benz. She had like very carefully, thoughtfully articulated the difference between these different scenarios. So I have monitor and evaluate the transition of year-round housing to seasonal homes or short-term rentals.
Through data collection.
Thank you. Okay.
So I just want to check in with everybody. Are we honing in on that one?
Yeah.
Everybody online okay with that we're honing in on it for the most part? Great. Who's going to do it?
I think you involve the school department on this one. Because you're going to lose kids.
Would code enforcement be in on monitoring and evaluating? That's one reason we got Kim an associate, because of the thought of all the
And the fact that she's terribly overworked, but.
I mean, it would involve code enforcement if there was
registration
enforce codes to be enforced. But if we're talking strategy, it's not really code enforcement. It's code enforcement after it becomes law.
Yeah.
Which is the giant flaming windmill to approach.
Right.
But I don't think this is going to cause people to blow up. It'll be the point in time at which the town starts to try to implement this that will cause the explosion.
So so to me, this would be a question, again, kind of back to you as the manager, like this, if I were to put this in there, I would say Board of Selectmen via you.
Yeah.
And then you tell somebody on staff, this is one of your duties.
Yeah.
That's-
That work?
No, I agree. I agree.
Yep, yep.
And then,
Can this be farmed out to a
Yep.
housing authority or how like Mount Desert 365 or Island Housing Trust?
right,
Like, there was an intern last summer
Yes.
who did try to do this in Northeast Harbor that Kathy and I worked with, and it's very, so, I mean, not surprisingly, but it's very challenging
Yeah.
to get to the bottom of this, right? So you're comparing property owner address to mailing address, or you're looking at who's getting a homestead exemption tax, and a lot of it's just like local knowledge and what, like what are the categories and like how do you, yeah.
so I think the trend that we're going in is, this one isn't to say, it's going to be we could come up with a huge list of who could do it. I would just say it's up to the select board and the town manager to say, we're going to set some money aside to farm this out, or we're going to try to get an intern to do this, or we're going to get the clerk to do it. It doesn't matter who does it. It's Alex's job to figure it out.
Thanks.
Staff has not healed from the last one
Immediate.
yet, so we're gonna need a little time.
Is that?
Staff has not healed from the last one yet.
Oh,
so-
sure. Oh, I get it.
Residential registration. That,
Yeah, that sting is still very fresh.
yeah.
I mean, I wasn't here for it, obviously, but it's,
Oh,
No.
they physically recoil when you mention it.
Yeah,
and It's not a good sign.
That's what I started trying to get at is like, this can't be it can't be the way, it just like, it has to be more productive. I don't know.
Well,
People can't be like afraid and wounded.
right. It's a thing that is really affecting all of our communities.
Mhm.
We have to deal with it, and we're gonna have to figure out a way to get the information to understand what the real effect is. So what Suzanne is saying is, yes, there's some scars from the last conversations, but that's kind of why I'm getting to the next one, which is like, you really need to have a good conversation about it. And there's ways to facilitate that conversation probably better than what was done in the past.
I'd say they're not quite scars yet.
Yeah.
Sort of what I'm getting at.
Open wounds can heal, but we still have
It will
to have,
eventually occur.
we still have to have the conversation, and it's still going to be a hurtful conversation, but if you don't have it, it's not, you're just putting your head in the sand.
It's much like school consolidation. It's an issue that it's never gonna go away because it's just gonna continue to be an ongoing.
Yep. And again, at the end of the
Also very
day,
related.
as I've always said, it's like at the end of the day, like the town gets to decide whether or not it's a big deal to them or not, even whatever the data says.
Right. That's what I meant, like what happens if so you have this and like you're monitoring and evaluating and it gets to like 80% of the homes, like at the end of the day, like you have the numbers, but then there's the question of like, so what, right? And that's the harder part. What about a when for this one?
Yesterday.
Yes.
Okay. And then,
Alex's hair just went all white.
yeah. Oh, develop and implement programs to retain.
I'm surprised that we're having to worry about,
Develop and implement programs to retain existing year-round homes through tools such as acquisition, deed restrictions, financial incentives, and partnerships with housing organizations. So
Is that economic development?
Yeah, I would throw planning board,
It's certainly
economic development,
related.
board of selectmen in there. So board of selectmen, economic development,
select,
select board, whatever I did. Yeah, whatever we just said.
I'm sorry, you said several things, but
It's a good time for me to mention, at the most recent meeting of the Economic Development Committee, they're actually going to put themselves on pause, in part because they're down a bunch of members, but until the comprehensive plan comes out and gives them more specific guidelines, they felt it was best to hit pause because they were feeling like they didn't have good direction at present.
Okay.
And I support them on that. I agree. I was struggling a little bit myself, so.
So should we take them off from this or?
No, by all means, give them
Give them
specific
something to do.
things.
Give them-
Right, and
Yeah.
so there isn't a housing committee, right?
Yep.
I mean, some communities will create like a joint housing and economic development committee, which I could see being very relevant in this case.
So, sorry,
Okay.
could you add economic development committee there?
And if this is exactly what they're looking for, is give us a specific thing that we're supposed to focus on.
Mhm. Yeah, so ideally, you have this list of all these strategies, they're assigned to different committees or staff or whatever, and you like can create a list of like, here's our marching orders.
Yep.
Yep.
At the end. Encourage the conversion of seasonal and short-term rental units to year-round homes through incentives, partnerships, and programmatic support. I feel like that's going to be a similar.
Everybody good with the select board and economic development committee on that one?
Yep.
I think both of these points, the previous one and this one, maybe there's a place for advocacy or education. Like you can't force somebody to put in a deed restriction, but you need to inform them of the benefits of it. Or advocate that they should care about the future of their town.
Yeah, one of the things that came out of our housing solutions summits was the idea of, and there, there's no money for it, but like almost like should there be like a marketing campaign of like why year-round housing is so integral, It sounds crazy, right? But when the pressures are what they are.
That's a good point. We want to write a little note about adding advocacy or education to either of these or both. We can tweak it.
I'm just trying to put some, because like they're great ideas, but we can't as a town necessarily acquire properties at their current market value. We can't force deed restrictions. Financial incentives until state law changes. We can't change tax law. So the best we can do in the short term would be to campaign on people making a voluntary choice.
I prefer the word educate,
Yeah,
but I'm curious about if anybody else cares.
at the beginning.
It's instead of or in addition to the advocacy, right? Educate, such as
I used to say that
education,
where,
develop and implement programs to retain existing year-round housing through tools.
About
Through education and tool. I don't know about the advocacy.
such as or through education, acquisition,
Mhm.
something like that.
Sure.
Yep.
In both places. Yeah, great. Okay. Objective 3, which we were wrestling with earlier. Establish where appropriate neighborhood districts with maximum lot sizes and other dimensional standards to maintain the scale of existing neighborhoods and support year-round living.
Now, those year-round people have to just make sure that they have had the education on the importance of selling to another year-round family.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm putting planning board here. Who else? Economic development committee. Sure, given them a lot of tasks.
Good. Yeah. In all seriousness, that's.
Okay. Short term.
Sure. Yeah, all the housing things are short term.
Next two are state strategies: maintain, enact, and amend growth area land use regulations to increase density, decrease lot size, setbacks, and road widths, or provide incentives such as density bonuses. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier, to encourage the development of affordable or attainable workforce housing.
Seems like a planning board thing to me.
And a lot of the new state legislation is trying to, make that happen.
Short-term and ongoing. As a suggestion. Sorry.
You're not in charge. I'm just kidding. Does everyone agree with Noel's suggestion? Seek to achieve a level of at least 10% of new residential development built or placed during the next decade be affordable. Is that duplicated?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
it's the same objective.
Yeah,
Indeed.
he thinks it applies in both cases, but I don't know that we need to repeat it. Do you feel like it fits better here or where it was before?
I think it's fine to have it in both places.
Okay, great. Objective 4, increase the supply of rentals attainable to the year-round community at various income levels. 3 strategies here. One is a state strategy. Pursue partnerships with nonprofit and private developers to increase the supply of year-round attainable rental housing. Support could be in the form of capital and/or operating funds, staff resources, donations of town land / services, or grant / assistance sources, among other things. It's a long one. We need to unpack this one a little bit more, or do people feel good about the way it's written?
Fine with it.
Okay. Who is doing this?
Code Enforcement and Planning Board and Economic Development.
Got it. When? Short term? Medium term?
Oh, about
Ongoing?
short-term and ongoing.
Provide incentives from long-term rentals, supporting the conversion of seasonal and underutilized units to year-round use. We put this one at our last meeting as medium term, and I think for kind of the point that Vince was making too, where it's like, you feel kind of like there's not a lot of cards on the table when you don't have these financial mechanisms. But this is facilitating the creation of accessory dwelling units through continued zoning updates, et cetera.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, that's their standing committee, right? So we could task them with things. You may want to scrub the ordinance, scrub this at some point and see which ones really should be planning board and which one should be Luso / planning board, or which one should be Luso, but you don't have to worry about that now.
What's the difference between a long-term rental and a short-term rental?
I think it's a year-round rental.
There is a definition.
Yeah.
I mean, I do rentals for people that are 3 months. Is that considered a long-term rental or a short-term rental?
That's considered a long-term rental.
I think 30 days is probably
It's
better.
less than 30 days usually.
We want to use that phrase.
I think
in
we
the-
just need to have that in the
is this
definition
what we're
page.
getting at? But I mean, is this what this strategy is getting at? Are we talking about year-round rentals? Are we talking about long-term rentals? What is this in terms of increasing the supply of rentals attainable to the year-round community at various income levels?
I was wondering,
I would think we're talking about year-round rentals. I mean, if 30 days is a long-term rental and we're talking about that impacts our community negatively, and what we're trying to do is positively impact, I would think we're looking at year-round rentals or incentivizing year-round rentals.
is objective 4 just a subpart of objective 1?
I wonder that too.
And is it, because I keep coming back to that higher level and wanting it to be really simple and straightforward. And is it really 3 objectives? And we build in this rental focus into the year round, because it feels like year round is core to both of them. Question to the committee.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think they could be rolled together. And as far as the long-term rentals, that should probably, I know we're trying to have year-round people, but also workforce, which is generally seasonal for a lot of industries. So it might be year-round and workforce rentals.
I like that.
Okay, so. Year-round and workforce rentals, is that what you said?
Yeah. Because workforce really has a strong tie to our economy and competes heavily for those homes that are affordable. So if we have more of those developed, it's better for everybody.
Yeah, that is an ongoing problem of seasonal workforce versus year-round. I mean, we've all seen that all over the island. Like hotels buying homes so they can have their seasonal staff in there.
Great, that's the end of that list. The state strategy, maintain, enact, and amend ordinances, that sounds like a Luso one, right? Planning board,
Yeah, throw Luso in there more.
okay.
Are you on that committee?
No, I quit.
No, send it their way.
Gail took over.
Okay, that's the end of that section. It's not the last time we'll ever talk about it.
But
Go ahead.
I think we're going to transition into another section for now, just to kind of scrub the thought process a little bit. But the couple of things that sort of jumped out at me that Vince got me thinking about is, are we thinking enough about the challenge of the seasonal workforce? Are we thinking enough about aging population? And we haven't really talked about, sustainability. And I will say we have a meeting with Thrive coming up, but they're working with the sustainability committee. So there may be some stuff coming out of that conversation that we may want to tuck into here at some point. And do you think there's any other sort of bigger topics that we're missing from housing?
Well, you're right about the aging population, because our goal is all life stages. But none of these objectives necessarily directly touch on that.
They don't not touch on it, but they don't
pull it
directly.
out
Yeah,
specifically.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
So just things to, we can ponder that a little bit more too as we're making edits, but.
Do you put MDI Housing Authority into any of these? Of the
Mhm.
who's?
So the way that I think we decided to handle it is not to put like an outside organization in, but we would put them in this, if we had to use like an example of who we would partner with, then they might be.
mm-hmm. And there's one that talks about. I feel like it makes references to regional coalitions, yeah. And in the inventory, it certainly mentions that that's a major player.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right.
Cool. So this is a tough one to get through, and it's
Certainly worthy
it's
of
a good
many
start.
meetings.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get back to this again as we go through. You want to transition into transportation? We have about 30
Sure.
minutes left.
Absolutely.
So does anybody need a hard copy?
Yes.
Yep.
I think for this one, we may similarly kind of start out with, instead of kind of trying to copy edit all this text, just talking generally at first again about like, what's the big problem we're trying to solve? If you could have one goal, doesn't have to always be one, but I felt like we came up with such a nice succinct one housing goal. What's that problem we're trying to solve with transportation, or what's the goal? And then, at least 5 considerations.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody at home can see this on the flip chart, but when we were thinking about it, basically just to kind of, again, set the stage for the conversation a little bit more. When you look through the data that we have and the conversations that we've had in the past, it seems like there's 5, maybe there's some more that people can think about of considerations that we want to make sure we're tackling when we think about the transportation section. The first one, we've talked a lot about the seasonality of transportation needs. And as a sort of a related topic, peak congestion periods and what that means. We talked a bunch and very recently about parking. We talked about the different types of transportation needs. So, buses and boats and bikes and whatever. We talked about the issues of climate. That was part of our data. So when you think about storm events and other things, for flooding, what does that mean for culverts? What does that mean for ferry service to the island? If we're using Northeast Harbor as like a mini transportation hub. And then what is the regional context? So who are we working with? Is it Acadia National Park? Are we working with MDOT? Are we working with other communities on the island and just off the island to try to think about that? So when we're sort of going through this, thinking about these things, do these resonate with everybody, first of all? And then secondly, are we able to transition these ideas into those goals and strategies?
Can I throw one thing on there? There are a lot of people who really want the island to be much more bicycle friendly. And
Yep.
different transportation needs. Okay, that's that. All right, good.
It's astonishing with a national park that there's not bike lanes.
Say that again.
It's astonishing with a national park that there aren't bike lanes. I understand it's really hard to put any of them in with the way everything has been built,
Yep. Yeah. More bike lanes.
but that's a tough one to do.
Yeah.
Especially now when they have motors on bikes. Old people like me can use them.
So I don't mean to make this the thing that we dwell on, because I think Suzanne's first question was really the important one. What is the problem that we're trying to solve? But I think this maybe puts that question into a little bit of context. So I'm just going to take that.
I'm gonna stick with it. Next to the. You can still see it.
I think it's a good goal.
Goal
As
has
you
written.
here, as you put it here.
It's parking and congestion. Which is,
One of the problems we're trying to solve.
Yep.
Yeah.
and the congestion,
Yep.
which is, over 4 million people show up in the summer.
Mhm.
It's hard to not have congestion.
Sure
I
is.
don't see how you're gonna do anything about it.
Well, that's what we're going to try to figure out right now.
So this goal.
Go, man, go.
This goal is the language from the current plan.
Yeah.
We took out the to promote, but
So do we have a side note on here?
Oh, yeah.
too? When
We were
Suzanne and I were
brainstorming.
kind of brainstorming on this one a little bit.
I wrote safe and efficient transportation systems. But I don't know if that gets at the multimodality kind of aspect. We're always thinking about like, how do we say it a little shorter, but inclusive of still of all the things.
I just like the word pleasurably. I just
thought
think
was
that's like,
so funny.
it's just sure to be on the
Still
road.
pulling over it myself.
But if you
Probably
think back
saying
to
that.
like, it's sort of like people come and they're driving and they're like, this is so beautiful.
Right.
And I'm like,
And sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pleasurably for who? Yeah.
yeah.
I just drove down to DC over the long weekend, and I was so happy to be back in Maine. I'm telling you, all the way through New York, New Jersey, everything is
It
terrible.
was not pleasurable.
It was really unpleasurable.
We've done that drive like
Too many times.
50 times
Does it-
since
does
we
it
moved
mean-
here.
yeah.
And it gets worse and worse all the time. And major construction going on in lots of different places.
It's
And
New
just-
Haven.
And
Really bad.
yeah, and everything stops, and then it starts and it stops again. It's like nobody knows why. It's a mystery everywhere.
So, okay. Do you like the way this is phrased? Do you think we should say it shorter? Do you think, we're talking about aspects of safety, efficiency. I think we're mentioning the idea of like multiple modes. Remember, it's aspirational. So it's definitely hard to have this bike infrastructure, for example. But should we be aspiring?
I think it looks fun.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the network speaks to different modes of transportation. It's the roads and the vehicles, whatever they are. But we should get those little scooters going all over the place.
Is there a way to make it, I mean, the other one was just so short and sweet. Is there a way to make this like safe, efficient transportation systems for all community members? Or is that too simple?
No, I don't want to lose pleasurable.
I know, I was ready to lose it. I was okay with, I don't know, does pleasurable mean like scenic?
You know, what's in soul. That's that right.
If it gives you pleasure, we should keep it in, but I would vote for
No,
getting rid of
pleasurable
it.
because you have the radio station that works the whole way. Pleasurable because your
Okay.
phone works the whole way. Pleasurable because it's really pretty. Pleasurable because there's nobody else on the road but you.
It's
I'm
perfect.
not sitting in traffic.
I'm not gonna.
And the cars we drive.
Yeah.
And pleasurable because there's no potholes.
You live in a dream world.
Yep.
On town roads, there's not. All our town roads are perfect.
Okay.
Manicured, washed.
Sorry, I don't want to dwell on this too
Nope.
much, but I don't think we've got like, I don't fully understand if we've concluded that we could make it a little simpler or not.
I think it's
That was your suggestion.
as fine as
How do you
written.
feel about that?
I don't care. What's that?
We're not getting rid of pleasure.
We can't, apparently. No, no, I don't care. But I think it more comes down to like the format. I'm fine with this as it is. But it will be nice to have goals that have common format. So maybe it's a like zoom out later on to come back to this.
Mm.
And if we just stop after throughout Mount Desert, period, then you cut out villages, town, islands, it might make it shorter.
Right.
And we don't have control over the other towns anyway, so.
Yeah.
But I mean, we just talked about this. There,
We don't-
you
We're
are,
Mount Ice Cream. We got pull.
We don't need the town and villages because they're the same.
Right.
I
That's
think you could
redundant.
say throughout Mount Desert and MDI or something like that.
The town of Mount Desert and
Isn't it-
FDI.
Implies?
Maybe, sure. It's up to you guys.
Okay.
I'm comfortable moving forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can get back to it too.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit the goals.
Yeah. Objectives.
Check, yes, we just did the goal.
All right, objective 1, improve the design, quality, and type of safe connections, right of ways, rights of way, trails, sidewalks, bike paths between our towns, villages, neighborhood subdivisions in a way that promotes physical activity as a part of daily life. So that is the objective. One of our ways of saying it was increase multimodal connections between villages and neighborhoods and within neighborhoods.
Is this objective from the existing plan?
Yeah.
Okay, that's just exactly there.
We didn't actually edit this one,
Okay.
but we made a edit it.
Mhm. Yeah, the suggestion to like shorten it was increase multimodal connections between villages and within neighborhoods, it should say.
I personally get lost in all the words on that objective, but we started thinking about it.
I think we should have Gail on the Luso take care of all that too instead of the planning board.
We'll get to that. What
Um,
about that?
do
What
people
about the-
feel strongly about the wording of the existing objective? If you're like, it's totally fine, that's great too. We're just looking at ways to simplify it and let the strategies can certainly be more detailed.
It all looks wonderful.
I like them both, but I like that the original one highlights physical activity promotion.
Okay.
Anybody else?
So, yeah, this is not about roads or anything. This is about making it easy for people to move from one place to another on their own.
The whole section
Activity.
is like the transportation section is really about like just how you move around. So it's not just roads and driving, right? It can talk about paths, footpaths, bike paths, ferries, livery services, like, yeah, trains, planes.
Big T transportation.
Yeah, and some plans they just call it the mobility chapter
Yeah.
or section. Okay.
Is it really a within 2 years or is it an ongoing?
So Heather, are you talking about the objective or have we moved on to the strategy?
I mean, oh, sorry, sorry. I'm reading over here, so I'm in the strategy.
We
Okay.
can move on to strategy for now. Yeah.
Okay, so the first strategy, improve automotive, bicycle, pedestrian connections throughout the town between residential neighborhoods, including subdivisions, community facilities, and areas of great recreation and commercial opportunity. Special attention shall be given to designs that improve pedestrian and bicycle safety, trails, rights of way will be encouraged in less dense areas with sidewalks, paths, and more dense areas. So to me, it's like about, and we talked about this really early on in the plan, and we were talking about some of the villages. It's like you guys talked about the trail network here in Northeast Harbor, but what if you could walk on foot between some of the villages or bicycle, off? You certainly can on some of the carriage roads. But also it's like creating more opportunities like that. Or looking at where there are, if you only had a connection here, do people feel like this is confusing the way it's written, or? Yes, okay.
It's, there's,
So, yeah, we didn't do a lot of wordsmithing on this one. And I think, the way I look at objective number one is it's really about connectivity and encouraging physical activity through transportation opportunities. So we could think about this one a little bit more, like break down the strategy and say, what is this particular strategy in terms of that objective is really just trying to say, it's almost the same thing as the objective. So we have to
That's
think
it.
about
It's
that.
a little repetitive.
Because of the word
Yeah.
improve. So that's part of the reason why Suzanne and I were thinking about rewriting the objective to be a little more
Yeah.
objective-y.
A couple things I wrote at the bottom, not to skip down, it's not on your printed copy, but it's like inventory and map, because this is me, like the person who works with maps in Excel, inventory and map all pedestrian and cycling infrastructure. So the first thing is, like, what do you
No,
have? Where is it? What do you have? And then you can figure out like, oh, what we can go from here to here maybe. Or identify opportunities for new trail or sidewalk connections within and between villages.
Right.
Those are just two like really concrete task type
Yes.
strategies.
somehow there needs to be parking in there to do an awful lot of this stuff.
I think parking would be associated with that, and also, Alan, probably in other objectives.
Okay.
Yep.
Mhm. So those two ideas at the bottom kind of get at this first strategy, which really does read like an objective, and they're kind of like projects that could be undertaken.
But how is that different than create a pedestrian master plan?
Yeah, so you could do that under the umbrella of a pedestrian master plan
Pedestrian
or
bicycle.
bicycle, yeah, or like a multimodal.
I think it just simplifies the concept of that and broadens it a little bit, because pedestrian might be limiting to what we're talking about. So yeah, Suzanne's framing is first you got to know what you have,
Right.
then you have to identify opportunities through the planning process, and then you implement whatever those opportunities are through regulations or investment.
So these first two strategies are in the existing plan.
Yep.
Do we know what was done?
I would say, just my observation for the first one is nothing or continued. I would say within 2 years is pretty, for that strategy is, that's objective. That's like
remotely.
that's like is aggressive.
Yeah, to me, that first one needs to just be an ongoing, because what it's essentially saying is when you get the chance, take advantage of it.
Yep.
And if you're redoing a road, improve or add the sidewalk. And that's the time to do it. Drop everything and add a sidewalk when the road doesn't need redoing is not a wise choice. That's
Right.
just not a good use of money. It's almost like this one could be the last on the list though, because the first three are create the plan and the last one is really how to go about doing it.
Yep.
I feel like the way you said it though is like more helpful. It's like continue to identify opportunities or something, right?
We'll take advantage of the opportunity when you're redoing a road and there's a spot where the sidewalk can be improved. And we've got a enormously challenging road working its way up right now, which is Summit Road heading down into downtown, which has all sorts of problematic intersections. So, I mean, that's a good example of it.
So, yeah, maybe it's when we can work on wording of this, but it's when investing in road upgrades, integrate sidewalks and or bike,
As appropriate.
you know, as not just appropriate, but you know, as much as possible or something as possible, right? Because some of
That's
them
just ain't,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
something like that.
I mean, another good example would be Harbor Drive, which everyone's most upset about these days. We're not gonna widen that road, that's not gonna happen, so what are we gonna do, you know?
Okay.
Not Harbor Drive, Harborside.
Herbicide. Keep
And I'm
doing that.
thinking Harbor Drive is kind of wide.
Mine's stuck there for some reason, I keep doing that.
Do you guys like the idea of a pedestrian or a multimodal master plan,
Yes.
like a mobility plan? And there, yeah,
Sergeant Drive is much nicer to bicycle down than Route 3. You're less likely to get hit by a car.
Details, details.
Yeah.
then I would take this out, because like you said, it's sort of a task of that project, right? Okay.
Yeah, identify the, yes.
Yeah.
What did you say for the time frame of the idea of like taking advantage of opportunities that was like ongoing?
Yeah,
That's
ongoing.
gotta be an ongoing. I was gonna have a short time frame on creating the plan, but then actually implementing is just gonna have to be when the chance arises.
We had a traffic committee.
Not at this time.
I actually asked that question, like, who was there ever a traffic
Yes, because
committee?
I was the chairman.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh, where is your
Do we need-
utility plan?
Yeah. We need a traffic committee.
I've been off it a long time.
Traffic and parking.
No, parking's gonna be first up, I think.
Is it going to be like an ad hoc committee or how did the, how's,
Ad hoc, yeah.
so do we, like, that's why I asked the question, because I didn't. Do we want to if we say traffic committee, there isn't one, so we really should have a strategy. It's like,
Form a traffic.
Form a traffic
or
committee.
whatever.
Or
Or
just a-
transportation.
yeah, that's a thing, or there's an existing group that already can integrate the things that we're talking about here, like who should do the multimodal plan. Will it be the select board decides to hire somebody to help with a multimodal plan, and then there's got to be a group that's going to work with that or something.
So many of the trails are Acadia National Park and also VIS trails. And yet we don't want to put those people on this plan.
Right. So if you did like, you don't necessarily do these types of plans, but like, you know, you would work with all those partners, because that's how most places are. It's like, especially like one land trust owns this and somebody
Right.
else owns this, and you would work together to inventory them all and then kind of create. those-
Inventory them all. We can't let people know about them.
Yeah.
That's through this.
So you could have another strategy that says work with, you know, GIS and work
Outside agencies.
with partners to such as,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
improve connections between.
I think it's also always the public works and the code enforcement officer, because there must be sidewalk rules, right?
Sidewalk rules falls more into police.
Really building them and having
Oh,
ADA stuff?
building them, sorry, that's what you're getting at, sorry, never mind, I was.
You were
No, it's
working,
public works.
you were working on them and I was building them, right?
Basically, or enforcing people. I was thinking, I was stuck on parking, never mind.
Can we go back to this, like working with the other agencies idea? Work with landowners and other agencies. This is about like looking for opportunities for connections. Remind me what you were
To
saying.
create the master plan.
Oh, right, okay.
And local partners.
So I would have said, if I were scoping out like a mobility plan, there's like, here's, first of all, here's your data. This is like a map and inventory of all of the infrastructure that we're talking about. And then secondly, we're going to use that information to come up with a mobility plan, which is then going to have something very similar to this, but that's going to be like, okay, we're going to do a connection between this neighborhood and that neighborhood, and who's going to do that? Those are these are opportunities. Or we're going to do the Public Works Department is going to come as a separate thing. Public Works is going to come up with their annual maintenance plan or long-term look at it.
Right.
I think Brian's really good at this. So, and then in doing so, one of the other strategies that we have is like, you always need to be looking at ways to add bike lanes and sidewalks wherever possible.
Mhm.
That's the second thing. And then the next one, another strategy is you're continually working with the VIS or with Acadia National Parks or these regional partners to improve existing connections or make new ones.
Mhm.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's the way you guys need to look at it, but that's where I was headed.
Great.
I
Okay,
think we can unwind this one a little bit, Suzanne, once we get back to the office a little, just taking this into consideration. And because even that long one, the original one in the middle is sort of like separate things.
okay.
Mhm.
We have about 10 minutes. Why don't we look at this next one? Objective 2, maintain and enhance the safety and quality of Mount Desert's road network, specifically about roads. Develop a long-range infrastructure and maintenance capital improvement program that details the level of service at which Mount Desert's roads will be maintained and for what cost. Did that happen? Does that exist?
I think it probably.
The town does a great job with our roads.
Mhm.
They're out there with toothbrushes cleaning them off.
Is there a capital improvement program for those?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Maybe
so
it's
it's
just
just called
maintain.
ongoing?
Yep.
Okay. Keep up the good work.
Yep.
Monitor
Keep up the good work.
locations that could become high crash areas and make improvements to alleviate safety concerns. For instance, widening road shoulders for parking near seasonal attractions. So, this is a huge deal with Acadia National Park.
Hmm.
I think there should be something here, if we take out the reference to Acadia, it should say, work with partners or something to monitor locations. What do you think about that?
Mhm.
Do we have information on where all the crashes occur?
Yeah, it's in the
Yes.
inventory. The state has an incredible crash data map, interactive map that you can go to if you wanna spend your time that way. And you can sort and filter it in all kinds of way, like show me all the places where there are collisions with deer at night, whatever. It's really interesting. And then they aggregate it in a way where you can see where the high crash locations are. So if there's more instances in certain areas, and that all comes from police reports. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
My daughter did a science fair project on it.
You know it too well.
So I have to say, on that topic, but totally not part of our meeting, I saw a deer crossing when you're on, you're going under the Cadillac Mountain bridge. There's a deer walking across.
The bridge.
Like,
Oh, it's pleasurable seeing that deer walk across a bridge.
lovely.
And no traffic because the road.
There was, yeah, that's right. It was lovely. It was.
Good bicycles.
We make that ongoing.
Goal.
Yeah.
They come up to my door. Give me some corn.
Who else needs to be on this suggested responsibility to monitoring high crash locations like police?
Yes.
Police.
Police.
We are.
About Public Works,
Great.
Yeah.
do we want to throw
I mean,
economic?
yeah, I mean,
economic
if
committee in there?
police identifies a spot, it falls on Public Works. But ultimately, it's started.
But the monitoring would be police.
Okay,
Support the improvement of public signage in order to increase the clarity, consistency, and enhancement of public signs throughout the town.
Isn't that code enforcement? Doesn't Kim control signs?
Public
so I think
Works.
what I would say is this one, and there's another one in there where I think I might have added, or we added, more wayfinding. But I think this would fall under that part of it. Like, make sure you have good signs so people know where they're going. I'm not sure if so there's no more traffic committee. Well, first of all, does that still seem like a good idea?
Yes.
Okay,
I think we got enough committees.
so
We gotta focus our
This one-
where we need it.
to me, this would be Public Works and Economic Development Committee, because wayfinding is an important economic development tool. Again, just a suggestion.
I'm not saying that the traffic wouldn't be good, but there's a limited number of people willing to serve on stuff.
Sure.
I feel like this could be like it's like something about like continuing to assess. I don't know, does there need to be a project where it's like some places will do like say like we're gonna make a wayfinding plan, and they'll go out and like figure out where all the signs are and what they're saying, and do they actually like make sense? Are they consistent? I don't know that that's what this is suggesting.
Yeah, so a few years ago, when some of the signs came up, was there an actual wayfinding plan developed, or was it like a branding? If there is an existing wayfinding plan, then it would be great to try to implement the plan if it hasn't been implemented, or was it just like
It was when Jackie Hewitt was here working with the ad hoc Economic Development Committee.
right?
And I wasn't a part of that, so I don't know if there was a master plan for wayfinding, but.
It felt more like branding.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so this one, I mean, for this objective, we're talking about the roads. Right?
Yep, this is under the roads
So I
objective.
think as we get deeper into transportation, maybe a couple more objectives, there is like a wayfinding conversation to be had.
Regarding the support, the improvement of public signage, isn't that also police so that you go to the right place at the right time? You turn appropriately.
Traffic directional signage, yeah.
Maine DOT.
Police.
Yeah, I mean, public signage is such a broad way of talking about it, so yeah, we can miss that out there.
Do you think in this one, this is really a question to you, would it make more sense to make this more road related?
And less about wayfinding, like general wayfinding.
Correct.
Yeah,
All right, well, in the spirit of time, maybe we can dive into that a little bit, but does that make sense, the distinction?
Just change the word
Ongoing.
public to traffic signs,
Yeah.
something to that
And
effect.
then I think that changes the thing.
But there's wayfinding somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just just say signage.
should this be ongoing? Okay.
Yep.
Develop standards to manage new curb cuts on our major roadways. Is there an urban compact zone designation for this area? I can't remember from so like the DOT, like, when we were doing Belfast plan, I don't think this ever applied in Carabassa Valley, but like, it's like, as you're approaching, Belfast on the Searsport Road or whatever, like after a certain point, if you're within the urban compact zone, there's different standards about like how many curb cuts you can have and how, if you're having like a ton of, curb cuts in a row, like that starts to create a lot of potential safety issues. And so they regulate that. So when I saw this, I wasn't really sure. I
Strikes
don't
me as
think
an
that
odd-
exists here. I don't think any part of this town is part of like an urban compact.
Yeah,
I'm not sure we have a major roadway.
Yeah,
I do.
well,
Several.
Coming down to
Some'sville. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Sounds well for sure.
I think the point of this one is really to think about, curb cuts and site distances and how that affects
Safety.
the flow of traffic on major roadways.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's actually been done, and I would put, Luso and planning board.
Yeah, Luso.
So
Can this be-
Noel and Suzanne, just from my understanding, we mentioned Somesville, but that's also a state road. How much control does the town of Mount Desert have when it comes to curb cuts?
Well, you would have to go get a curb cut permit through the Maine DOT, yes.
Yep.
But town could also establish its own standards that your driveway has to be so many feet from the adjacent driveway, or there's other things you can do.
I hear what you're saying. Okay. Yep.
So if this was in the existing plan, never completed, do you want to make it a short term? Do you feel like it needs to be? Is it a high priority?
Not for me.
Yeah, I don't know that it is a high priority.
Oh,
Okay,
we have other things that are
A
higher.
number of sites,
Yeah.
and most of us will all be on areas that are MDOT roads.
okay, so
Mhm.
maybe long term,
Yep.
Yeah.
and that's fine, and it's good to have it in the plan to, remember we talked about it and the
Mhm.
thing. And
Mhm.
that's the end of that objective.
So
Zoom through.
can we just do a check-in, because it is 7 o'clock? We have 3 more, 4 more, 3 more. Happy to forge ahead, or?
Yep, let's go quick.
Okay.
Quick as we can. Keep my mouth shut.
Next one is objective 3, work with surrounding communities to strengthen regional transportation connections and mobility options.
Work with.
Was an edit we suggested.
Yeah,
Good?
support an increase in year-round public transportation through regional providers, including Downey's Transportation and Island Explorer, to expand route service availability and improve connections to employment.
You want to say to employment, or can you just stop at the word connections? Because if we're gonna have a year-round community, it's not everyone's working. Some people are here on vacation. If you could take the bus to Eagle Lake to go ice fishing with your traps or cross-country skiing,
Or to go to the grocery store
right?
or your kid's school.
Sure.
Okay,
Keep going. I was thinking we should delete staff, but
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Support the creation of an off-island intermodal transit hub to reduce commuter and visitor traffic. We deleted that one because it's been accomplished.
thank you.
Way to go.
Action Park.
Support the creation of a ride-sharing network on and off the island. I think we were trying to think about what that meant.
Yep. Wasn't quite sure about that.
It's like right now, I feel like people go on Bar Harbor Barter and swap,
Yeah,
and they're like, "Will someone give me a ride to Bangor?"
It's not clear to me that it's a town
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
So, do you think we should delete this one?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't really know, not to go back, but what support an increase, what that first strategy really means, but maybe that doesn't matter.
Keep pushing for more bus routes.
Just longer season.
Yeah.
Maybe if
I think
you,
it could just mean a lot of different things, I guess is what I mean.
what if you said support an increase in year-round public transportation options?
It's kind of what the one above it is doing.
Yeah, it's sort of rephrasing the objective with a little more detail.
I mean, to not be duplicative, I could say, work with Down East Transportation and Island Explorer to expand routes, service availability, and improve connections throughout the year, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
that would work. Just
Yeah, do you want to identify them or do you want to say transportation providers?
Such as, yeah, I like,
I think
that.
transportation advisors, in case those places go belly up 10 years, 15 years.
Well, and also to remain consistent with
Yeah.
what we've done prior.
Do Spain routes for improved connections. Year, okay. Strengthen transit connections that better link village centers, residential areas, and key destinations, biking, walking, etc.
Yeah, I think that was a brainstorm.
You had that. I was like, oh, we're alone.
Yeah, might have been tired.
Okay. Also one that's deleted says support the creation of a regional transportation organization whose mission is to address transportation concerns at the regional level. And that was assigned to MDI tomorrow and transportation group.
Okay.
Do you want to skip that last one? This one I just read that Paul had added.
And the point here is more than just the first one. We're talking not just about public transportation options, but making connections to better link places through like biking and walking.
Can we fold those together?
Sure.
So it could be like, are you talking about like the next trips, like when you get off the bus,
Well, the goal is to connect, to strengthen regional transportation connections and mobility options. So right now we're only talking about vehicles,
Mhm.
cars and buses. And so far we've only got one strategy.
I'm kind of the opinion that this might just be an objective that we reduce or eliminate.
I kind of feel like if you did a mass or a mobility plan, this would be part of that. But
Yeah, it feels kind of forced, like we're trying to make something that will either naturally occur or like the ride sharing network. Like no town is going to make a ride sharing network, but Facebook made it with no problem.
right, because it's free.
Yeah. So maybe a lot of this is just going to take care of itself. And
This is
what
about
doesn't take care of itself rolls into the master transportation plan.
um
the objective 3 should become a strategy for objective 1.
right, or yeah, maybe yes. Yeah, that's gonna go as a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at how we combine those.
Okay, great.
Yep.
We work with surrounding communities or entities, organizations like, without naming them, Down East Transportation or Unexplored.
Okay, I think there's 2 more.
Yep.
All right, objective 4, align land use and transportation planning to support sustainable and efficient growth patterns. So originally it said use transportation planning as a tool to manage new growth.
So-
Go ahead.
Well, the thought process behind this edit is to reframe it a little bit more in the positive and less in the negative. So you're using it to support sustainable and efficient growth as opposed to manage, which is a little more like directive.
Fun.
Ensure consideration of opportunities for connected road networks and through streets over cul-de-sacs and dead-end roads in new subdivisions. Where through streets are not possible, encourage pedestrian or bicycle access ways between them.
Good. Yep. Okay.
Planning board ongoing. Promote the use of shared driveways and access management techniques to increase safety and reduce roadway impacts. This is when we're talking about curb cuts, right? And so
Mhm.
like, how do you have like interparcel access or whatever?
Don't we have an ordinance that if more than one house is accessed on a driveway, it changes it to a road?
Well, the definition of a road is two or more, three or more.
Mhm.
So driveways are two lots, two houses, two dwelling units, whatever, two lots. And roads are anything over two.
Because,
Yes,
okay,
as what?
I just know across the street from me, they had to have their own driveway or they would have had to name the road. And because there were going to be two houses on the driveway.
Mhm.
And if they put two houses on the driveway, they were gonna have to name the driveway as a road.
Yep.
And neither house wanted to lose their previous.
That's an E911 issue, I think.
Okay.
They named it as a road. We had to do that at Heel Way.
Right.
Heel Way. We had to do that at Nolan Way.
I don't know why we need to promote shared driveways.
Curb cuts.
So I think the reason there, Alan, is because it's, again, if you want to have an objective that says align land use and transportation planning to support sustainable and efficient growth, one tool is to promote the use of shared driveways and access management techniques.
Great. Planning board and ordinance review committee.
I would just need that, all that Luso.
Okay, ongoing.
Hmm.
Update the land use ordinance to allow more flexible parking arrangements in the pedestrian oriented villages.
That should be
Like
loose.
on sidewalks.
So not in the pretty marsh, because you all don't, you're not pedestrian oriented. Because you do walk there, I mean.
There's nobody on the road, so it's okay.
It's pretty.
I don't know what this means.
So in the next objective,
What is this? What was this talking about? Like, what's in the, for example? What are more flexible parking arrangements?
what I would say,
Parking availability.
what I would say is that a lot of older ordinance structures are based on, if you have this use, you have to have this number of parking spaces. What the end result of that approach to parking regulation makes it so that you build Walmart parking lots for Christmas and not for like normal times, just as an example. And what you might want to do in your village areas where sometimes you have more traffic and you have a bunch of different uses and a limited amount of space, you need to create more flexible parking standards that aren't saying, like, if you have a restaurant in this location, you have to have X number of parking spaces per employee, X number of parking spaces per building, because you're actually in a village. And it's most of the time assumed that you're going to have different opportunities, or people are going to be able to walk from here to there. So you need to be more thoughtful about your standards, not so rigid about your standards. And my experience in Mount Desert is that you're almost too flexible right now. There's not enough standards, but you don't necessarily need to go down the path of having too much standards, because then you'll disincentivize all of the other strategies for a place like Northeast Harbor, where you want to encourage housing on second stories and all that good stuff.
So are you saying there are no standards right now?
The standards are show us how you're going to provide as much parking as possible, which is like a ridiculously hard thing to judge when you're on the planning board.
So maybe should the strategy be like evaluate the need to refine standards, or something about, like, it sounds like somebody needs to figure out how to improve the standards.
Yes, somebody does need to figure that out. It's a tough question, yeah.
Gail is not flexible.
Well, we're not talking about Gail Allen.
Well, it's
We are.
land use ordinances. That's Luso.
Yep. But I think what we're trying to figure out is how to phrase this. I think the intent of this one, because this was from the existing plan, was that not to go too far down the, let's make sure our parking standards are like this, but make it a little more than what we currently have, which is a reasonable thing to think about.
So it's something about the like they're not performing maybe the way we need them to, so.
Well, you know, it's funny because we've just been talking about this and I don't think any of us got the idea from this language that that's what this was about.
Yeah,
So it's a little confusing.
It definitely needs to be rewritten. for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys could all disagree with me. I'm just telling you, but like
Once you explained it, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
what I would caution us is to not go down to be flexible enough in our language to not just direct the town to create inflexible set of parking standards that aren't going to service the community the way that it'll change other things that you really want to accomplish.
think about like determining the need to revise.
Yeah, maybe we go back through this one, Suzanne.
Okay,
Or just stop at the word standards.
okay. Great. Okay. Require new development to evaluate parking demand and encourage shared, reduced, or flexible parking arrangements where appropriate. I feel like you're getting at that idea in
Yeah.
that one.
I think we could probably think about how we combine these two.
Okay. Objective 5. Oh. Planning board, Luso, Public Works, Select Board.
Yep.
Okay. You guys want this to be ongoing? Yes. Okay. Objective 5, invest in transportation infrastructure and services that enhance safety, accessibility, and overall quality of life for residents and visitors.
Word pleasurability is missing.
I feel like this is so similar to the goal statement, right? But this really is about investments, sounds like. So under here, we have develop and implement a parking management plan for high demand areas, such as Northeast Harbor, Seal Harbor, key trailheads, including strategies to improve efficiency, reduce conflicts, balance resident, visitor, workforce needs.
Change that to parking committee.
But can we get rid of identifying villages or towns? Because, I mean, Pond's End is a shit show on a
Yeah.
good day. Heights Landing, Echo Lake. You've got, doesn't matter. If it's pretty, people are gonna stop. If it's pleasurable, people are gonna stop and enjoy it.
So just maybe take out the,
Yeah, just
High demand areas.
high demand areas.
yep. So the first task is like, let's make a list of all the high demand areas. Yeah, okay. Ongoing parking committee,
Mm-hmm.
who else?
No, I'd actually put that as,
Short term,
yeah. And that's literally something that's getting tackled in the coming months. That's occurring regardless of the comp plan anyway, so.
in terms of implementing it, who is implementing it? So traffic committee could develop it, but Public Works is gonna be implementing it
Actually, police
in with. Public
and
Works.
with public works, yeah, but at the end of the day,
Expand and maintain sidewalks, crosswalks, and pedestrian connections within and between village centers and key destinations. This seems like similar to one above. Which is okay. Public Works.
I feel like we already said the exact same thing in our prior objective,
Yes.
though.
Yeah. They're sort of a multimodal, so I'm gonna make a note here to reference above and make sure it's either not duplicative or if it is, combine or eliminate them.
And there was another instance with a state standard that was duplicative, but we had said that was,
Right,
we were
in
comfortable
housing.
with that, so as long
Yeah.
as we.
It's like a lot of these we've actually already covered in
Right.
under headings.
Some of these are a little more specific, like now we're saying you will invest in bike facilities such as bike lanes. We're saying you should invest in infrastructure just like bus stops and shelters if we needed them. But maybe they all get kind of looped in because it's a part of the other strategy. Like if you're gonna have more buses, you're gonna need more bus stops. I think we can look through these.
Yeah, is that ongoing? Okay.
Mhm.
Invest in bike facilities, to improve safety and expand transportation options, invest in infrastructure that improves public transportation use. Continue to enhance wayfinding systems. There's the wayfinding. So this is really about the objective is about making the investments. What do people think about those statements?
I like the statements from the pure fact that one wants to say we're going to invest, but the truth is, I think we've said this on one of the prior ones, is it's a little bit ongoing and as you can. Like, so for example, sidewalks. Um, if something's being developed and you have the ability to put sidewalks in, great. But I don't think the town is going to say, hey, we're now going to invest in sidewalks. Um, up, I'm trying to think of, any road, but so I like the ideas, but think I think it's hard to sort of mandate the town or say to the town that you have to start investing in these.
Yeah, so typically it's like we were saying before, it's like if a project like the bridge over Basking Creek, putting
Yep.
aside there, so it's like this, you're already in there with all your equipment and machinery, and like let's make that just part of the project.
So when and where possible,
Yeah.
invest in the
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Okay.
We'll review this again, and the next time, will there be like a summary page of the objectives?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any bus stop shelters?
I don't know if,
I don't even know if there are any in Bar Harbor, like where
There's a bench.
yeah, there are benches and but not shelters.
There might be one right across from Real Pizza. Maybe that
I
one.
know that's what I was trying to look at inside my head.
I don't think there's a shelter.
Yeah.
There's a bench there.
It's just a bench.
Jordan Pond House
All right. So,
under the wisteria.
right. What about with the wayfinding systems? This is continuing to enhance. What about evaluate and enhance? I feel like there's like a missing piece, which is like, are we paying attention to it? Right.
Mhm.
Whose job is that? Public Works, Economic Development Committee? Yes.
Yeah.
Short term, medium term.
I'm going all the time.
Okay. Work with MDOT, Acadia, and other partners to align infrastructure improvements and maximize funding opportunities.
Mhm.
Ongoing.
Yep.
Discuss.
Public Works.
Go ahead.
So if you were to think about it, like even conversations that were recently had at like the League of Towns meeting, would that be Board of Selectmen also? Select Board.
Prioritize upgrades to roads, culverts, and transportation facilities that improve resilience to flooding, erosion, and extreme weather.
I don't think you need even the word extreme. I think it's just weather.
I think the weather's becoming extreme, so it's the new norm.
Sometimes we say extreme weather events, like it's like a form.
Guess I'm struggling with this one because this is what Public Works would already.
Yeah, they're doing-
These anyway, like.
Yes, they really are.
It's not like we're a crew that's gonna be like, yeah, good enough, like. It's not really how this town rolls.
No, the other way around.
Yeah. The
Sometimes we just put it in there.
How about continue upgrades instead of prioritize?
Sure, I mean, fine.
did it.
Yeah,
Everyone.
great job, everybody.
Yeah.
Slog.
Way to hang in there.
Yeah. Thank you. It was good.
Get to go back and reflect on all the decisions and did they make sense?
And go find that traffic internet mapping thing.
Yeah.
Like that's our next, all of us.
There's-
are gonna
there's
sign
no
that.
public-
It's so cool.
There's no
All
pub
right.
here.
Motion to
no public.
dismiss.
All right. Is there a second?
Yes.
All
Second.
right. Those in favor? Pack
Yeah.
up and
Hi,
Thank you.
Stephanie.
bye, staff. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Go Mortis.
Mm.